confusion among the American people as to what ICE is doing. There shouldn't be. It's just the law enforcement arm of the DHS. They're out there just enforcing the immigration laws that were passed by an actual Congress and signed by an actual president. They're not the Gestapo. They're not Nazis. They're not stealing people off the streets. They're literally going out and just enforcing the law. But if you watch these hearings that happened yesterday, that doesn't appear to be what's going on. It's Austin Pfluger. He's a U.S. representative, District 11 Republican, great state of Texas. August, not Austin. August, how are you? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming on today.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Joe, for having me.
I should remember your name because my birthday's in August. All right, it's good to see you. I watched some of this mess from yesterday, and I just don't understand what they're trying to do. And I think it's what I just said off the beginning, if you don't mind me repeating it, Representative. I think they want people to believe ICE is some rogue, out-of-control Gestapo that's just arresting people of color when that's not what's going on. What did you see yesterday unfold in those ridiculous hearings? Did you see what I saw?
Well, it's painful to sit in them. I've been doing that for almost 6 years now. Democrats, they don't want to enforce the laws that we pass via Congress. They want to enforce the laws that they come up with by regulation when they have the White House. Exactly what they did. So, you basically have two thoughts. One, the Republicans want to maintain law and order, and we want to enforce the laws that we have. And if we don't like them, then we'll change them. The other one is more of the Democrat thought of chaos, undermining the rule of law, which they did to the tune of 10 to 12 million people getting through our border. So they are basically trying to demonize ICE. My question to Rodney Scott was, who's been doing this for 40 years. He's worked for every administration since Bill Clinton. He is the commissioner of the Customs and Border Protection. My question was, has any law changed just in the past two administrations with regards to deportation? He said no.
It's a great question.
And I said, so basically we're enforcing the laws that are on the books, and they weren't in the last administration. He said that's exactly right. And I went into a lot of other questions there, but that just kind of frames it for what it is. They want to tear down the laws. They want to deconstruct the rule of law, and they want to basically pick and choose which ones they follow. We as Republicans, as conservatives, we want to enforce the laws that are on the books, and we want to have a secure border. That's not so much to ask.
No, it's really not. But then you see someone like LaMonica McIver, who you and I both saw. I'll say it. You don't have to claim it if you don't want to. Give a forearm shiver to a federal agent at that ICE facility in New Jersey, and she's still somehow in Congress. Then she thinks that she's got the moral high ground to ask Todd Lyons if he thinks he's going to hell. And how are you going to get into heaven with all that blood on your hands? August, it's ridiculous to me to watch these people say and do what they say and do, yet they don't stop. Does she not realize that we all saw what she did at that facility?
You know what? I just don't think they care. They're shameless on that. And, most Democrats, I will say, they're not like that. But the radical wing of the Democrat Party has taken over the interpretation of how they should act and what their policy should be. We all saw that. All of America saw that she was leading the charge at that facility. It's completely shameful. You would not catch a Republican doing that in any case. You know what's even worse, though, is that was my question to Director Lyons, was how does it feel to have elected officials in Minneapolis, the mayor, in fact, say F ICE? Yeah. How does that make you and your agents feel? And what does that do to your safety? What does that do to the safety of the families? I mean, these are good people who have signed up to do a very hard job. They are complying with laws that have been in place for decades. Why would anyone demonize them or try to put their lives in jeopardy?
He's the chair of the Republican Study Committee, chair Homeland Security Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence, member House Committee on Energy and Commerce, also former U.S. Air Force Colonel, F-22 fighter pilot. That must have been fun. We'll talk about that at some point as well. It's August Pfluger. Let's talk more about what you just said. When Fry says, get the F out of Minneapolis, when Keith Ellison says he can't arrest ICE agents because he feels like it, when Tim Walz says we're at war with the federal government, all we should really be saying on our side, and you're saying it, I'm trying to say it on my show, is none of these raids would be necessary if the state and local law enforcement just worked with ICE. Just like Tom Homan has been saying over and over again, it's much easier, Todd Lyons I think said this yesterday, to walk into a jail and get the bad guy and leave, that takes one or two agents, than it is to go into a neighborhood where you need 10, 12, 14 agents just to keep yourself safe. I mean, we have to really bring that forward to the American people, don't we, Representative? That if they just cooperated, ICE would have been in and out already.
Well, this started years ago. you're absolutely right. We've been on this path when they established themselves as a sanctuary city. They basically said, we are not going to comply with federal law. And by the way, we fought a civil war over this in the 1860s. This was the issue where federalism was challenged.
Yes.
So when you look at this train that's been going down the tracks of the state and local level saying we are not going to cooperate, why is no other state and no other city hemorrhaging like this? It's because they're cooperating.
Right.
It's because they're doing things that law enforcement are trained to do, and they are assisting federal agents in every case. Can you imagine any city in our country not cooperating with a federal law enforcement agency if we had horrible terrorists that were trying to attack the cities? Well, this is the way we should think about this, because we do know that there are known and suspected terrorists who are still in this country. ICE is doing everything they can to get those folks out, and yet they get no cooperation, and they get very explicit and horrible statements from the elected officials that basically incite the public's anger in a way that's completely avoidable.
Are they on the hook for aiding, abetting, harboring, inciting any of that stuff? Because you can't just say that. When the governor says go and do it, these little minions are going and doing it. They're getting in the way of ICE. They're attacking ICE. They're taking ICE on in the streets. When you've got Fry saying it, you've got the police chief saying call 911. If you see somebody arresting somebody in the streets that looks like they might be a police officer, they might not be. Call 911. Are they complicit at all, do you think, Representative? I mean, can you bring charges against somebody for what they're saying?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't know about the charges, but they're definitely complicit in the way that their population is acting, the way that their communities, are standing across the line of protected speech. I mean, when you go and you peaceably assemble, why would you ever need a gas mask? If you're protesting something according to the Fifth Amendment, I can't think of a situation where you would need a gas mask, but yet they're saying, the governor said, bring your phone, track these people, show the database of their illegal activities. Well, they are the ones that are enforcing the laws that are protecting against illegal activities. So yeah, they're definitely complicit in stirring people up.
8,000% surge in doxing and death threats against ICE agents. They're doing all they can to unmask the ICE agents. They're only masked because they're protecting their families. We literally had cases where their children are being doxed on Instagram. So the ICE agent said, well, maybe we should cover our identities. You've got a guy like Gavin Newsom in California attempting to pass a law saying ICE can't wear masks. The courts disagree with him, but he's trying to do that. What is the end game there? If we unmask ICE, what? Then we can send bad guys to their houses? What is their goal?
That is their goal. They want to terrorize ICE agents. They want to prevent someone from joining ICE. They want to prevent ICE from doing their job. That is absolutely their goal. I am not in favor of demasking ICE. I am in favor of body cams. I think that actually will exonerate 100%. The ICE agents in almost every case. I think it will help their operation. So I'm in favor of that, just like I am for all state and local partners. But the 8,000% increase was my question to Director Lyons on how many threats, hostile acts, death threats have the agents received, have their families received. This is just, it is incalculable that you would have normal U.S. citizens threatening law enforcement, threatening the safety of their children. I can't think of something that is worse in our country. We are a country of law and orders. If we don't like the law, then change it. And I've challenged my Democrat colleagues, if you don't like it, change it. But right now, these are the same laws that stood on the books as they did when Bill Clinton was president. So you've done nothing about it, and yet you want to deconstruct the rule of law here and terrorize these agents. It's completely wrong.
The left lies with such ease. By the way, District 11 Republican, great state of Texas, Representative August Pfluger. Appreciate the time and the access. They lie with such ease. You see Eric Swalwell, making his little dramatic act in front of the cameras. He was made a fool out of by Todd Lyons, but he had somebody hold up a picture of this kid, Liam Conejo Ramos, who was abandoned by his father, left in the cold of Minnesota. His mother turned down custody twice because she says she was afraid of being arrested, even though I said, we're not here for you, take your son. So instead, they send the son with the father to a detention center here in Texas, and you've got people like Joaquin Castro pretending like he was malnourished and he was dying and he was sick and everything else, none of which was true. The kid was asleep. But Swalwell has somebody hold up a picture of the kid with his little backpack and his little hat on, and he asks Todd Lyons to resign. And I love Lyons' response, which was, the picture you're holding is a child that we actually took care of when his father abandoned him. The problem is, August, that those who don't watch and listen to me, those who aren't paying attention to what you're putting out, which is great, They believe that that little 5-year-old was arrested by ICE and detained by ICE. And none of that's true. But how do you beat a narrative when they're so good at lying?
Well, you're right. How do you beat this emotional narrative? I mean, the pictures are hard to watch. The loss of life is hard to watch. It's tragic. Yes. It was completely avoidable, but it's not true. And I remind my colleagues, and I asked the question yesterday about how many people did President Obama deport? Well, it was 4 million.
Right.
So where were they asking these types of questions? And if they don't like the policies, then change them. But these are the laws that keep us safe. So I have every confidence in our federal law enforcement that they absolutely care about children, that they want the health and safety of those children who are caught up in a tough situation to be protected.
Right.
But where were they with me in Del Rio when we had 18,000 Haitians under the bridge, where kids were literally suffering there? Where were they when I went to McAllen, Texas, and I saw a 2-year-old child being pulled out of the brush?
Right.
They were nowhere to be found. So they don't care about the children. They just want to make a political statement. And it's pathetic at this point.
Well, where were we where were they when 300,000 kids just went missing? We didn't know where they were. We found 145,000 of them. Tom Homan just announced the other day. That's no big deal to the left. We got to keep on showing the picture of this kid, this 5-year-old kid, and it's a double-edged sword. It's a catch-22, whatever terminology you want to use, because if you don't let him go to the facility with his father, you're ripping kids from their families. If you let him go with his father, you're detaining children. No, we just kept the family together. So again, you can't win a narrative war. You can only win if we show the true facts. Do you think the media is giving a fair shake to ICE at all? And I don't mean me. I of course am. Newsmax is. Fox is. You've got some media out there that's doing a good job. But the media that's consumed by a lot of Americans is still, I think, doing a really bad job. Are they coming around? If they come around, the real story will get out there.
Absolutely not. And,
really?
Our broadcast folks, we really need the broadcast folks to actually dig in to this story, which is a 40 or 50-year-old story. We need them to tell the correct story and provide the facts. But no, they're not giving a fair shake to ICE. They're not giving a fair shake to those of us who want our communities to be safe and secure. I mean, again, I want to remind everybody, for a 4-year period, starting with the inauguration of President Biden in 2021, he let in 10 to 12 million illegal aliens. That is
right.
Unthinkable, unconscionable. So now we are having to do the hard work, which is not fun. We need, and I think that there is a lot of room here for us to reform our immigration system, to do it in a way that makes it, for those who want to comply and want to assimilate, to make it easier for those people and harder for the ones that don't. So let's do that. But we are just up against a media battle and a constant battle of Democrats using 1 or 2 data points when there's a million data points that they're forgetting.
Yeah, and then you've got Olympians who are a bunch of idiots over in Italy deciding, let me drag my country while I'm here and say that ICE is bad instead of Gestapo and nobody's happy about this administration. That's not true. You still have the majority of people in this country of all races and backgrounds and ancestry that don't want illegal aliens to have a step up in front of them. They don't want them to stay here. They'd like to see them go back to where they came from and then reapply the right way. In fact, I think it's 71% of even black Americans want the SAVE Act. They want people to have an ID to prove who they are and that they're citizens before they can vote. What's the status of that? I thought the House of Representatives voted for the SAVE Act. Now we're calling it the Save America Act. Is this a different bill that you guys are going to have to vote on again?
Well, it is. In fact, we're voting on it today. The SAVE Act was passed out of the House about a year ago. We sent it to the Senate where it has sat. And the difference today on the Save America Act is this. You have to provide proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. And then when you vote, your government-issued ID will prove that that citizenship has been verified and that you can vote. And this is not just a 80-20 issue. This is a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
You have to use an ID to do everything in life. You have to use an ID when you go to the bank, when you apply for credit, in some cases when you go to the gym. The speaker made a great point recently. He said, at the Democrat National Convention, they required IDs to get in. But we don't require
That's how dumb it
IDs.
is. Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. If Democrats are requiring it at their convention, I think we can require it for those who are voting.
Yeah.
And I challenge a Democrat to that debate. because every American thinks that this is a good idea.
It seems like it should pass out of the House again. And again, the argument from the left is not working because women are smarter than this. They're saying, well, women who get married can't prove who they really are. So you want to repeal. Jamie Raskin, like a dork, said that you want to repeal the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. I mean, that's just dumb. Women aren't falling for that. But my biggest concern is, should it leave the House, and I hope it gets out of the House, what's going to happen in the Senate? Do you need a supermajority for this to pass the Senate? And if so, should we look at getting rid of the filibuster for now?
Well, the filibuster is a Senate issue. I'll leave that to them.
Okay.
Obviously, we want the Senate to take this up. There are those who think that they can put it on the Senate floor and that they can put it up for a vote, and that let's challenge Senate Democrats to come to the floor and debate it and filibuster it. And if they don't, then they think there's a mechanism to pass it. But again, that's a Senate thing.
Yeah.
But the bigger question would actually be, why aren't there 7 Senate Democrats to equal 60 votes?
Great question.
To Save America? What you're telling me that there are 53 Republicans and 47 Senate Democrats, and 47 of them are going to vote against something that is so common sense that most of their states, to the tune of 80+% support? That is a real question that they're going to have to go home and answer. This is an easy bill. We're going to pass it out of the House. We're going to send it to the Senate. And we definitely want to see them move this forward so President Trump can sign it.
You were very patient with me today. I appreciate your time. I know you got to go and vote. We heard the alarm to go vote a few times. Go and get that done. It is U.S. Representative August Pfluger, great state of Texas, Texas 11. August, thanks a million. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.